Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. It's good to see you all. Although I think there's a lot more people out in the display area and the coffee line, but that's all good. Last day of the conference, huh? I hope it's been a great week for you all. I'm really excited to be moderating this panel because I absolutely love the launch business, and now I get to be part of the launch industry, which is also very, very exciting. Today we have Tom Burkholder from United Launch Alliance. We have Kelvin Coleman from the FAA, so we got some regulators here. And we have Lars Hoffman from Blue Origin. And we hope to have a nice discussion this morning about essentially addressing the challenges that you heard from Colonel Panzenhagen, well, when I say challenges, the exciting future of launch on Cape Canaveral and at Vandenberg. And this is the industry, and we can't do it without our government regulators, but this is the group that's going to launch us into the future and address all of the demand for launch on our ranges. So what I want to do is start, and I'll start with you, Tom, on the end. Please introduce yourself as you'd like, and let's talk about kind of the exciting things. We just heard from, of course, your CEO, Tori Bruno, but maybe from a more technological spin, you know, how's it going, and what kind of successes are you having with Vulcan?
That's great. Thank you so much. So I'm Tom Burkholder. I lead strategy and business development for United Launch Alliance. And so we're excited from our heritage at ULA. We have been launching national security missions for over 60 years with our heritage vehicles. So it's something that we are very proud of. And so with this, we come to today very excited about the overall industry and where we stand of all the companies that are pushing forward along with our partners in the government as we look at space launch and what the future may hold. And so from ULA's perspective with our technologies, we are very excited. Over the last year, we have had our first successful launch, 2 launches of Vulcan. And so that was developed in partnership with the Space Force. And so we are moving forward and very excited about where we are technically with what we have to offer for national security. What General Panzenhagen spoke of is that combination with the commercial industry, and that's also what we have seen. We've signed the largest launch contract with Amazon launching Project Kuiper. And so with that, you have that combination of having the vehicle that we have now launched, but then now also addressing the commercial market. And so with that, you then need to do and look at the technology that you have within the infrastructure of your offering. And so we've invested into our production in Alabama, into transportation, and into our supply chain, as well as into launch ops. And I'll just provide a quick example with launch ops. You know, we spoke about resiliency. We'll put in a second integration facility, additional tracks, and launch platforms so that we are able to have a launch and then have another vehicle stacked, be able to roll out, and in just a few days be able to launch. Yeah. So we're really excited about where we are.
And Tom, when you say that, you're talking about actually having 2 pathways.
Yes.
To the launch pad.
Exactly. And so you're utilizing the same pad, but 2 pathways in which you're able to launch and then be ready to go. As we spoke about Victus Nox, this is looking, you know, as you're in the medium and heavy, being able to have that responsiveness to help address the nation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yep. Kelvin.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelvin Coleman. I'm the Associate Administrator for Commercial Space Transportation at the Federal Aviation Administration. I've been in this role for a couple of years now, and I can say that after watching the grass grow for a number of decades, it's never grown higher. We are excited to see the developments that we're now seeing. We are truly in historic times. I appreciate the fact that Tom referred to us as a partner. Oftentimes, regulators are not seen as partners with industry, but we are truly a partner with industry. That is our desire to see launch operations take place. If vehicles are on the ground or at the pad and not being launched, we're not being successful. Our mission focus is to enable safe space transportation. That's our mission focus. We want to see launches take place, and we've seen that to a record degree here this year. So far, we're up to about 153 missions this year that have been FAA licensed. With a couple of weeks left in the year, we'll see a few more. In our history, we've seen more than 870 missions successfully launched under an FAA license, by far more than any other country in the world, so we're pretty proud of that. And we're also pretty proud of our safety record, which has been, no one has been hurt or injured as a result of a mission that's been conducted by a U.S. Launch service or reentry service provider. So we're pretty proud of that. So that's our value proposition, public safety number one, but also we want to, as I said before, enable this industry to move forward. Oftentimes we're talked about as, sometimes being in the way, but we don't want to be in the way. We want to be an enabler, a partner, as Tom mentioned, to see these operations take place, and we're working hard at that. We understand the importance that commercial has in terms of our national security, our civil exploration needs. We understand the important role that commercial plays. We also understand that we're in a bit of a space race with China. We understand that very well, and we understand that our place in this equation. And so we want to be an enabler there. We want to work with our companies to get through the process as quickly as they can, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here shortly, I'm sure. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to enable safe space transportation, and we've done that to, I think, a pretty successful degree, and we're looking to do that even more moving forward.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up the safety aspect and the fact that our country certifies launches. It's something that I actually, have recently learned, that every country has their own certification process. And you should rightly be very proud of ours. And I love this partnership theme that FAA has going.
Thank you.
Lars, my classmate from the United States Air Force Academy, what have you been up to lately?
Just a few things. So thank you, Nina, for moderating the panel. Really appreciate that. She was asked about a week ago to fly in and moderate our panel, and she graciously accepted, and we were thrilled to hear that she was going to join us. Former commander of what is now SLD-30 and SLD-45 later, so she knows the business, and then Kelvin has been doing this for years. And I'll just continue the theme of partnership, because that's what we feel at Blue Origin also. We've been working with the FAA for years in preparation for our upcoming launch, which is within the next few weeks. The vehicle's ready, but there's a process that we have to follow to ensure that we're on a path to success. We all have a vested interest in this, whether it's ground safety, range safety, licensing for public safety. We all know that we're in this together, and it's a collective success, so we want to make sure that we're following a very thorough and rigorous process to get there and working together as partners. The success of the first launch opens up the door for a successful second, third, fourth, and multiple launches thereafter, so we're looking forward to that. And so a lot of people this week have been asking me, Blue Origin, when are you guys going to launch? Well, I like to remind them that we've been launching since 2015 with New Shepard out in West Texas, launching astronauts to the edge of space and bringing them back safely. So we have experience in this area, and we've had multiple human space flights this year. We have many more slated in the years to come, so we'll keep following that progress. But a lot of what we learned in New Shepard is feeding forward into New Glenn, the big rocket that's getting ready to launch. And you may have seen it in social media posts this week, integrated, rolling out to the pad, going vertical. 320 feet tall. It's a big rocket. It's going to be exciting to watch it launch, and it's going to open up another avenue, another era in space flight to deliver payloads, critical payloads for national security, civil, and for commercial customers to all of the Earth orbits and beyond. So we're very excited about that. To get there, we had to develop the engines, the BE-3 engine for New Shepard, which turned into the BE-3 engines for our upper stage on New Glenn, and BE-4 engines on our booster for New Glenn. And the same BE-4s that are going to power New Glenn have been powering Vulcan for its first 2 launches successfully. So we have some flight experience already with our engines, in addition to all of the test experience. For New Glenn, we'll bring the booster back and land it on a platform out at sea, bring it back into port, rinse and repeat. We're going to get into that same mode that you've seen with SpaceX and Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, to where we reuse the booster over and over and over. So again, this is going to help open up a lot more capacity, a lot more availability, and the customers around the world are responding to that. So we're very excited about that. And at Blue, there's a lot of other things we're doing in space with Blue Ring, our in-space orbital mobility platform, and then all the way to the moon as part of the Artemis program. We're on track to deliver our cargo lander to the moon next year, and then grow that into a human lander by 2029 and deliver astronauts back to the moon on the Artemis 5 mission. So just a few things going on.
Okay, Lars, I'm going to press you. Okay, your rocket is on the pad.
It is.
It is fully stacked.
It is.
So for all of you running the 10-miler, you're going to get to see it. You're going to run right by. If the route's the same as it's been, you'll get to run right by.
But you can see it from anywhere on the 10-miler.
Yeah, you can see it from anywhere. Okay, but you don't have a launch date to share with us yet.
This year is about all I can say at this point. So that kind of narrows it down a little bit, doesn't it?
Okay, well, I don't know.
Maybe for Christmas, I don't know.
It would be a nice Christmas
That would
present
be
for the nation.
wonderful, yes.
But I just have to tell you a story. I'm not going to spend much time up here talking myself, but I just have to tell you a story because you're my classmate. When I was at the first SLS, which doesn't exist anymore, but I was a major, the director of operations, and we worked off of Pad 17 A and B, which aren't even there anymore. So that tells you how long ago this was. But we were launching GPS back then, and it was A pad, B pad, A pad, B pad. We were very busy, not to your standards today, but very busy for our time. And an owl decided to have a nest, have babies on one of our pads, and we were getting ready, to start stacking on one of, I think we were trying to go off B pad, but the owl was in there. So we had to, do some rearrangement and stuff, and I was briefing the morning stand-up, and we took a picture of the owl and the babies, and we said, since this owl just doesn't want to leave the pad, we in the Delta Squadron decided to name the owl Titan, because it just won't leave the pad, which is a joke.
That's good.
For a big rocket that just doesn't want to leave the pad. So
What are you saying, Nina? I think that's a good omen. We don't have an owl on our pad, but we have a big feather on the side of our integration facility.
Oh, very
so we're ready to fly.
Nice comeback. Okay. Well, we do look forward to that launch.
Thanks.
All right. So not everything is is easy when you have burgeoning technology here. I mean, actually everyone is in a state of newness, right? So there are challenges, and I would like, could you please share some of the challenges that you're dealing with, and kind of how you're overcoming them, because it is not all easy when you're trying to put new technology into work, and actually maybe starting with you, Kelvin, because you're going to have regulatory challenges dealing with their new technologies and capabilities.
Absolutely, yeah. So a couple of years ago, we published a rule called Part 450, Streamlined Launch and Reentry Requirements Regulation. And It was intended to be, and it is a performance-based rule. It combined previously 4 prescriptive regulatory parts into a single part. We set this rule up in about a year's time, which is really rapid pace for rule development. But it was needed because the industry was evolving quickly, and we needed a rule that would allow and enable the industry to move forward. We've run into some challenges in implementing Part 450, and with most rules, they're never perfect when they come out of the chute. We understood and knew when we set the rule up that we would have to come back to the drawing board and reassess what we had put forward, come back to the table with industry. So we're doing that right now. So we've recently announced that we will stand up what we call an aerospace rulemaking committee. We call it a SPARC, or a space rulemaking committee, where we will bring industry back to the table, have a conversation about things that we need to do to further improve the rules so we can, as I mentioned, enable safe space transportation. So that's number one. Number two, as many organizations will say, we are a bit underfunded at times, a bit understaffed, and so trying to get as many hands on deck to handle all of the demand that we're seeing is a big challenge for us. We see more demand than we have hands available to address those demands, and so we're trying to figure that out. We've had our most successful hiring period over the past year. We are at full capacity in terms of what we could afford from a budgetary standpoint in terms of staffing. We're looking to increase that moving forward so we can address all of the work that's coming our way when it does come our way. So that's a big challenge for us that we're trying to address.
Are you looking at any technologies like automation or AI to help?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're looking at AI. We're trying to figure out ways to, again, streamline our processes, lighten the burden on our analysts, if you will, in terms of the work that they have to do. We're also looking at something called a licensing electronic application portal, which will allow an application to be filed online, if you will enable us to be able to navigate applications. Applications are pretty voluminous, as you might imagine. So this will help us how to navigate those applications and, again, process those more quickly.
Fantastic. That sounds good. Tom, what challenges is ULA dealing with here?
And I think everyone in the room knows that space is hard, space launch is hard, and so I think it's the challenges in which we learn and grow. And so I think for us, it's the transparency and collaboration that we have with suppliers or with the government, that's really the approach that we look at. And I would say, as we've talked about this, of the growth that's enabled with commercial, is one of the areas that we've seen challenge. You can think of technical, schedule, or cost or budget, and I'll just focus in on with schedule. We now, with Project Kuiper, we're now looking at increasing our launch cadence, and so needing to make sure that our stakeholders from the government are comfortable with the schedule that we have. And so it really was about being open and collaborative, bringing them to Alabama, allowing them to see our factory, allowing them to work with our key suppliers like Blue Origin, so that they're comfortable with deliveries through the factory all the way out to the launch site, and being able to see that all that production that's done. We talked about the 2 lanes, that we are ready to grow. And so I think it's recognizing challenges as they come, working together, and finding the path forward. And that's really how, as an industry, we really grow.
Yeah, agree. I mean, the challenges are so tough that none of us can do it alone. We all have to work together. So we feel Kelvin's pain and the AST's pain. We've been working under developing Part 450, and we're participating in the SPARC because it's that dialogue, that back and forth, that helps them and helps us as well. Working closely with the range also. Space Launch Delta 45 has been wonderful to work with in terms of finding a way forward. We know we're going to run into challenges along the way, but collectively finding a way forward. But I would say that all of the pain that we're feeling, if you want to call it that, all of the challenges are a good thing. That means that we're pushing the envelope, and that's exactly what we need to do. So if you look at the airline industry and go back early days of airline industry, they encountered a lot of these same challenges. They overcame them, and look at it today. You go to Orlando International, it's never perfect, it's never smooth, as smooth as you'd like it at least, but you get there and you get there safely, and that's where we're headed with the space industry and the launch element of the space industry as well. A future where it's almost like going to Orlando International, climbing aboard and flying from one point to another. Perhaps we'll be doing that on rockets in the future.
Spaceport of the future. I loved hearing those words, mostly because I wrote a little tiny white paper back when I was the commander of the 45th Space Wing, and I had to send it to my boss twice, and he still didn't answer my paper. But we started working on it anyway. Way back then in I think I wrote it in like 2014. We started working on Spaceport of the Future, and it is, no one thought it would happen overnight. But I really was encouraged to see what General Panzenhagen was doing. That she's really working hard to address the demand for launch and create a spaceport, a true spaceport of the future. So as you're working with the range like this, what kind of things do you need from them? And I'll
Yeah, it's the same theme that you've been hearing already, the cooperation, collaboration, communication, and keeping those open lines and working together in a spirit of cooperation. I mean, that is the key right there, because there's a lot of known challenges out there, but there's a lot of unknown challenges out there as well. And having that relationship, building that trust and credibility as partners helps you to work through those together. And that's what we've seen with the 45th. That's what we're seeing with the 30th as well. And that's what we're seeing with FAA, FCC, NOAA, and other licensing and regulatory agencies. So working through that collectively. But it doesn't, if you have a cold start, if you haven't built that relationship and that trust and credibility, it's a lot harder. It takes a lot longer. You got to do the, storming, forming, norming before you get to the performing. So you got to do those first steps before you really can perform together.
Yeah, and if it's okay, I'll build off of what Lars said. It's really that partnership. This is such a key national asset at the range, and so and it also expands out to industry. We all need to work together as we go through, and there's really an optimal way in which we could look at this as we find it. And as General Panzenhagen was talking about all the services, as she talked about wastewater, we're going to have to figure out the items that are best served by the range providing services or industry providing as well. And so we're going to progress and try to find what that is as we kind of find that future state that will work for everyone.
Yeah, that is a great point. I remember in like 13, 14, and 15, SpaceX started bringing some of their own capabilities to the range. And we said, whoa, how is this going to work? They wanted their own optics and some telemetry. So, but you assess, you analyze, you make it work.
Yeah.
And Kelvin, what? Obviously, you have to work, not only with the launch providers, but also with the Space Force. Yeah. So I'll just re-ask the question: what kinds of things do you need, or maybe one thing you need from them, a particular issue you've been working on?
I'll stick with the theme of partnership. We have a long, I'll say, storied history of partnership with the Eastern and Western Ranges, and the Eastern and Western Ranges bring a lot of great safety expertise to the table. And so we are able to leverage that expertise to enable safe space launches to take place. And of course, we allow companies, launch service providers who want to leverage services from those ranges to use those services as part of their demonstration of our regulatory requirements. And so we continue to work in close partnership with the ranges and make sure that the ranges understand our requirements and that we understand their processes. And so when launch service providers bring materials to us where they've leveraged those range processes, we understand those processes. We're able to make determinations rather quickly that those processes indeed meet our requirements.
Yeah, the safety folks which we love to call the safety mafia, are alive and well.
I didn't want to say safety.
I can. I'm Italian. I think I can say it. Okay, half Italian. Okay, we are almost out of time, but kind of lightning fast. You all realize that, as we talk about Russia and China, the threat of today and the future, our Space Force has to be able to fight tonight. What does that mean for the launch business? I mean, that means a rapid response capability. And I do understand that there's no ConOps quite yet. We certainly haven't built an infrastructure, but what are you doing in each of your capacities to help the Space Force get to that, fight tonight, rapid response, rapid replenishment, rapid launch response in your different roles? Lars?
Yeah, so we're in a new era. Previously, we would launch, half a dozen or a dozen times a year, and so when you do it that infrequently, you really don't develop the muscle memory and they exercise all the procedures so that you can respond and you can be rapid and responsive as well. We built a reusable launch vehicle, and we've built a whole architecture to be responsive, to be able to turn and burn. And so that's part of our thinking ahead on this. But really, I've heard a couple of times reps and sets this week, and that's what we're talking about here. All of the commercial activity is giving us a lot of exercise and a lot of reps and sets on how to get through the regulatory approvals and do the launch op safely and turn your vehicles and do it again and again and again. All of the different customers, all the different payloads is making us all stronger so that if called, if needed, we are there and ready to respond on a moment's notice.
Good. Yeah, you got to think ahead.
And I'll just speak to, we are here as a commercial industry to support Spacepower. And so that responsiveness is on the ground. So we need to be ready to launch quickly. I spoke of that, but it's also in space. And so, for us with our upper stage, we're extending that. So responsiveness, we'll have multiple upper stages that are on orbit. And so if called upon, we are ready to act. So as Lars said, it's evolving, it's a new day, and industry needs to be here to be supportive.
Yeah. I will say to your question, what are we doing? I would say probably not enough right now. I think there needs to be more conversations around how do we fulfill the needs of the military for rapid response? How do we work with the companies that we regulate in order to meet their needs? Licensing determinations are not quick or fast, and so there has to be a lot of advanced planning that goes into that, such that when these companies are called on, they can leverage the licenses that are in place to meet those needs. And so I think there's probably needs to be a little bit more robust conversation around that, because that's really important.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Definitely the theme was partnership, work together, and fight tonight.
Great.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience. Bye.